HAARP may be one of the most controversial military-run programs operating today.
Are they involved in causing natural disasters, controlling the weather, and even our minds? Let's find out. First off, I want to talk about chemtrails. What are they? Why do they matter? Trails of chemicals wafting through the sky, wreaking havoc on Earth, our free will, and our well-being. For right now, the idea of chemtrails is widely recognized as a conspiracy theory, but then again, so was MKUltra for the longest time. Have you ever looked up into the sky and noticed the white cloud-looking lines left behind by jet planes? Well, just know that if one day you look up and those lines seem a little off, what you are likely looking at are chemtrails, full of harmful chemicals being deliberately produced, released, and covered up by the government. The trails are generally laid down in patterns across the sky, such as grids, X's, and crosshatches. If you see them, get inside, because you never know what kind of effect these chemicals could have on your biology. Furthermore, you might want to start indoor vertical farming, because I'm pretty sure this kind of thing would affect a lot of our produce too, and maybe a reverse osmosis water system is a good idea as well, because who wants to drink chemtrail water? Not me. Just saying.
So what is HAARP? Well, HAARP stands for the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. It's a research project in Alaska that started in 1990, a joint effort between the US military and scientists to study the Earth's ionosphere, which affects radio signals. Their most powerful instrument, and the one at the center of most of the controversy, is the Ionospheric Research Instrument, or the IRI, which sends a bunch of high-frequency radio waves into the ionosphere to see how it behaves. The goal, as officially stated anyway, was to improve communication and navigation systems like GPS and radio communication, helping the public, but more importantly the military. The work would also help improve surveillance. But some folks started to question whether or not they were up to even more than that. For decades, rumors have been floating around about HAARP controlling the weather, working on mind control technology, creating fake UFO sightings, causing diseases. It was basically the ultimate superweapon in the eyes of some conspiracy theorists. In 2015, the facility was turned over to the University of Alaska Fairbanks.
While controlling the weather might sound like some kind of out there sci-fi theory, you should know it's already been done. And it's also currently being done in many places around the world, including Dubai. That's right, believe it or not, Dubai can actually make it rain on demand without a dollar bill in sight. So, how do they do it? Through chemicals. The weather modification method, known as cloud seeding, utilizes planes and ground-based cannons which fire and spread particles into the clouds, creating more nuclei, minute solid and liquid particles that attract more moisture that eventually becomes heavy enough to fall as either snow or rain. Yes, it does snow in Dubai sometimes. Generally, the particles contain silver iodide, but dry ice and other materials can also be used as well. While this is pretty cool, it should be known that releasing these kinds of chemicals into the air can result in a contaminated water and food supply, which might adversely affect the health of plants and animals. We are animals, by the way. If you're feeling uncomfortable with the whole thing and therefore are thinking your lucky stars that you live in either the US or Canada, take a deep breath, because there's something I need to tell you. Both the US and Canada have been known to use cloud seeding to lessen the effects of both wildfires and hail, so do with that information what you will.
Is HAARP involved in mind control? Well, former pro wrestler, actor, and governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura thinks so, but he's not the only one. A lot of folks think HAARP is a covert government project designed for mind control. That the government has been using it for decades to manipulate entire populations, influencing our thoughts and behavior, basically turning us into obedient zombies. It's a terrifying idea, and I can kind of see why some people might think this. A distrust in the government, combined with the fact that the facility is pretty mysterious. It was, and possibly still is, run by the military. Plus, it's way up in Alaska, far from prying eyes. Pretty ideal place to set up a nefarious, mind-altering superweapon, right? And after all, if you believe they can control the weather, it's not a huge stretch to think it could control minds as well, or at least influence them. So are our minds being subtly controlled by an evil government program, keeping us in a state of dull obedience, making it harder for us to wake up to stuff like this? Or has it become so difficult in general just to decipher truth from fiction this day and age, and it's made us highly suspicious of basically everything.
Although for the time being, chemtrails are nothing but a theory, a mysterious illness sweeping over the US and a lawsuit in Canada both point to the theory being a very dangerous reality. In early 2016, a mystery flu began infecting people across the United States, a flu which Dr. Len Horowitz strongly believes was created and spread by the US government in an effort to make a large portion of the population sick. Why? Who knows? The illness could not be traced back to a logical source using conventional methods, and it also didn't act like a regular flu, which would generally last only a few days. Instead, people were remaining sick for months with symptoms of fatigue and sinus congestion. All of this led the doctor to examine a patent registered by the Armed Forces Research Institute of Pathology for a pathogenic mycoplasma he believed was responsible for the epidemic. He also believes that that pathogen was spread via chemtrails. That very same year, a lawsuit was filed in Canada regarding the regulation of spraying toxic chemicals and substances and particles into the atmosphere, in which a claim was made that the chemical trails released from planes had spanned across the horizon and caused serious health problems for the Canadian public. This led to Canada cracking down on regulations, but for some reason not banning the spraying of chemicals as a whole. Again, do with that information what you will.
Has HAARP been involved in causing earthquakes? Former Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez claimed in 2010 that a United States-owned tectonic weapon caused the Haiti earthquake that same year. And many conspiracy theorists once again turned their attention to the high-frequency active auroral research program. The idea here is that they can trigger earthquakes by sending high-frequency radio waves into the ground, and these waves penetrate deep into the earth, heating up and causing shifts in the tectonic plates. These shifts, they claim, can lead to earthquakes. HAARP has been blamed by some for major earthquakes, like in Haiti in 2010, as I just mentioned, and Japan in 2011. They argue that these disasters conveniently align with periods of increased HAARP activity. But why would they want to cause earthquakes? Well, I guess, if you're trying to set out to weaponize nature, setting off natural disasters like earthquakes could potentially be used strategically for political or economic gains. That'd be my best guess anyway. I'm coming around to the whole weather manipulation thing. I think there's something there. Gotta say, I'm still highly skeptical of this one though.
Okay guys, take a deep breath. You remember how a couple years ago the world went up in arms about whether or not it was right to force the public to take a vaccine? Well, believe it or not, this kind of discourse has actually happened before, except this time the acceptance of the vaccine was not only mandated, but involuntary. In 2013, the Australian government had allegedly planned to forcibly vaccinate the Australian public by releasing an aerosolized GMO vaccine. The plan was to spread live bacteria that would immunize the public after inhalation. Of course, it never actually happened, or so they say, because the public absolutely freaked out at the thought of being forced to involuntarily breathe in unknown chemicals. While this might sound like a crazy idea, it actually gets crazier, because in 2009 in California, just 4 years prior to the discourse in Australia, this actually did happen. A California resident exposed to heavy spraying became incredibly ill, and when she was examined by medical professionals, it was determined that she had essentially received a DNA vaccination through nasal inhalation. If I'm being honest, the whole thing is pretty unsettling, so do with it what you will.
What's causing the mysterious phenomenon that is the hum? Yes, people think that HAARP is responsible for this too, but for those who are unfamiliar, what is the hum? Well, the hum is this strange low-frequency noise that some people hear constantly, and it's been reported in various spots all over the world. It's often described as this persistent droning sound, kind of like an idling truck engine. Not everyone can hear it, but the people who do are sometimes driven nearly mad by it. Luckily, I do not hear this. This sounds like a complete nightmare to me. Scientists have tried to pin it on things like industrial equipment, electrical grids, or that maybe the people reporting the sound just have tinnitus, but none of these explanations have ever held up definitively. So because HAARP's IRI shoots radio waves into the ionosphere, some think that these waves could be messing with the Earth's natural frequencies creating this odd humming.
I mean, if we're talking conspiracy theories, we cannot forget to mention NASA, right? It makes sense why they would be mentioned in this video. If anyone was spreading chemicals across the atmosphere, why wouldn't it be NASA? In 2017, NASA made a statement saying that they plan to create artificial red and green clouds in the sky that would be visible from the east coast of the United States, and that doing so would aid scientists in understanding auroras and the ionosphere. As you can imagine, that was quickly shut down by the public, who claimed that there were enough chemicals in the atmosphere already. Of course, many people also believe that the whole thing was just some kind of weak excuse to get away with releasing widespread chemicals into the atmosphere designed to control humanity. And you know what? I don't blame them. In this world and in this day and age, honestly, anything is possible.
Where do UFOs come from? Are they secret military aircraft? Are they from space? Well, some might be, but there's another possible explanation in the eyes of HAARP haters, that their powerful radio waves and electromagnetic experiments aren't just messing with the ionosphere, they're creating strange lights in the sky that people are mistaking for UFOs. Some conspiracy theorists will even say that whenever HAARP is conducting tests, there's an uptick in reports of strange lights or unidentified objects in the sky. Kind of an interesting idea. I mean, all the bright, fast-moving orbs and hovering lights are sometimes accompanied by electromagnetic disturbances. There are tons of stories about car engines stalling or electronic devices malfunctioning when UFOs are spotted. I can see where people are making the connection here.
Buy yourself a gas mask and sit tight.
Yep, it's gonna be a fun future for all of us,
Yeah.
apparently. All right, we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Cheers.